Hi folks, welcome to today's class. Kara's decided to join us as well. If you haven't met Kara before, Kara, everybody, and hi, I'm Dennis if I haven't met you before. Bear with me, I'm going to log on to my laptop as well, just so I can see your conversations. Okay, so if you can't see anything, refresh your page. Sometimes it will take a refresh or two because it's a live broadcast. Sometimes it needs to refresh. So I'm just typing. So I'm just going to hold on until I get some at least one or two of you saying that you can see something on the live chat. We are live, so just in your live chat box when you can see it, refresh your page and just see whether you can see me. So good morning. Let me know, give me one or two of you please, just give me a thumbs up in the little chat box, just to let me know that you can see me, and that would be great. So we're going to kick off as well now. So welcome to the 30-day Qigong challenge. And yeah, I'm sitting down today, and there's going to be a lot more standing. But today's session is essentially to introduce you, to let you know how this is all going to work, to try and develop a community. Because there's quite a few of you doing this 30-day challenge, and it'll be lovely for you to sort of encourage and support each other. And I'm going to tell you how we can do that in this session today. I'm also going to be setting you up with one of the foundations of our Qigong practice. So first and foremost, my iPad here to the left of me is just so that I can see the chat that's going on between us. I won't be answering questions from this until last thing in the class, so please avoid asking me any questions until the last 10 minutes of class. When I say to you, right, we'll go over to live chat now, that's when we'll interact with this, because obviously I can't speak, teach, read all at the same time. I would love to be able to do that, but it's not possible for me. So So the Qigong that I'm going to be teaching you throughout these next 30 days is for you to create a positive habit in your lives. And it's about learning how to create a habit, because quite often we get excited at learning something new. So in the first week or two, we put everything into that. All our commitment, everything is around that new habit that we want to create. In this case, for you guys, it's going to be Qigong and some mindfulness. However, we have to be balanced in our approach, because will is a finite resource. And if we use it all up too quickly, there'll be nothing left. And we'll forget about doing everything else that we need to do in life. And then all of a sudden, that will come back and think, oh, well, we haven't done this, we haven't done that. And the habit that we wanted to create will just die away. So we're going to do this together. We're going to do this little and often, because I know many of you are coming at this with different background. Some of you have done Qigong before, some of you may be physically active, some of you may be coming from a place that you haven't been physically active due to health conditions for quite some time. And wherever you're coming from, we're all going to come at this at the same place. And it's important that we do, because the habits don't change, that habit energy doesn't change. And I'm going to get onto habit energy a little bit later on. So, for those of you who don't know me, very quickly about me, who am I? My name's Dennis, and I've been practicing Qigong for just over 25 years now. I've been formally practicing mindfulness with the Plum Village tradition of Thich Nhat Hanh for just over 15 years. And I've received the Dharma name from Plum Village, and I have taken what we call the 5 mindfulness trainings. And I've received them, which essentially means that I live my life according to mindful guidelines. I started off Qigong in 1995, just afterwards, and essentially I don't want to go into too long a story about me. One day I was walking, and the next day I couldn't walk anymore and ended up in a wheelchair. And that came from my spine slipping. And I was in the Caribbean at the time working on a cruise ship, and it was really quite a traumatic thing, as you can quite imagine. I'm getting up one day to use your legs and you can't use them. So after some sort of helicopter flights and back to the mainland and some emergency testing and scans and what have you, they discovered my entire spine was slipping, and I needed immediate major surgery to fix me, otherwise I'll be in a wheelchair for the rest of my life. As you can see, it worked. And I am eternally grateful to those amazing people that know what they're doing and put in bolts and plates and this, that, and basically fix my spine physically. But what I didn't realize was actually after my surgery, how much that whole process, because this had been a gradual thing that had been happening, but I wasn't aware of it. So I was dealing with a lot of pain for many, many, many years. And pain starts to torment you, starts to really get down deep into your cells, and all you do is just live through pain. And it just depends on what level pain you live through. And then it starts to affect up here and how you start thinking about everything. Anyway, the physical intervention of surgery helped me to fix my back. But it was the introduction of traditional Chinese medicine, acupuncture, and especially Qigong and mindfulness that healed me, healed my physical ability to get stronger, healed my essence. I started to find who Dennis was again, and nourished my spirit. And I thought, why isn't everybody doing this? Why isn't everybody doing something that's available to them and for free? So I then took it upon myself to study Qigong, to get better, to get stronger. When I say get better, not better at Qigong, but get better in myself. And it was about 10 years ago I took the plunge, maybe a bit more than that now, I took the plunge to start teaching it full time. Because it's my calling, without sounding too corny. It's definitely my calling to be of service to people, and I do it through sharing Qigong and mindfulness. And these next 30 days, I'm going to introduce you to the way that I do it. And for many of my students who have been with me since day one over 10 years ago, and they're still with me now every week, I have asked all of my students, what is it that you get from my classes that I can help you here now, those of you who are watching this on the 30-day challenge, what is it that helped them, my previous students, so I can then pass that on to you now? Because it's with their feedback directly to me that I can say, well, that worked, that didn't work, and I can deliver that directly to you. So this is what this course is all about. This is the voice of my students coming through me to you. So that's a little bit about me, how we're going to work these classes, and it's going to be the same Monday to Friday. Don't forget to refresh your page. I think I can see that some messages are coming up now. You will need to refresh your page because it's a live broadcast. So we've got that out the way. I've introduced myself. It's about the Qigong now. So what is Qigong? And many of you probably know what Qigong is, but I want to share with you just over these next couple of minutes what I believe Qigong is. And I think that's really important for you to understand what it is that you are doing, because when you understand what it is that you are doing, you're going to be able to practice it with the right intention. So these are my notes from my students that I've just put together. Now you don't need to write anything, because I'm going to share this with you in a document. So just give yourself to listening at the moment rather than worrying about writing down these things. So Qigong is life force cultivation. It's a self-cultivation through life force, through the life force is Qi. But when someone asks you, and believe me, thousands of people ask me over the years what it is, what do you do? And I say Qigong, and they sort of give you a strange look and they say, Qi what? Some of you may have experienced this already. It scares people away already because they can't even pronounce it, and because they've never heard of it, they lose interest. So over the years, I describe it as a mindfulness-based therapeutic exercise, because that's what it is. In those 4 words, it's mindfulness that underlies this beautiful exercise that's more than just a physical thing. It's a healing, nourishing practice. Qigong has 3 practices, 3 elements to it, which are gentle movement, breathing, and intention. And all of those things we are going to go through, and I'm going to share with you how do we do these things. Qigong supports our general health, our well-being, and it's the foundation of cultivating what we call the 3 treasures. And again, these things that you think, well, what's he saying? Please be patient. I am going to get to tell you what all this stuff means. So there are thousands of forms of Qigong. A form is a number of movements put together to create a form. And the form that I'm teaching currently, and I'm going to be teaching you, is called Jiben Qigong. And it has its roots in another form called Badua Jin, which some of you may have heard, which is probably one of the most popular and common forms of Qigong. This is very, very similar to Badua Jin. And there are many different schools and lineages of Qigong. There are many different teachers of Qigong. I myself have learned from many different teachers. Some I have really learned a lot from. I've managed to connect with them and understand what it is that I'm meant to be doing in here and how to practice the Qigong. And there's some other teachers that I couldn't quite connect with, but I also learnt how to become a teacher from all of these teachers. And it was important to me. It was important to me to understand how to try and teach. So Qigong isn't a martial art. There are some forms of Qigong, and if you went and put a search in on YouTube and put Qigong, you would perhaps see some Shaolin monks doing some Qigong, which was sort of, you know, breaking bricks on their forehead or something like that. That's not what we're talking about. Qigong has many different aspects. The Qigong that we're going to be learning and practicing is for our well-being. So there's no bricks and there's no foreheads involved, you'll be pleased to know. It's about cultivating our life force. So here we come to one of the guiding principles of Qigong that you're going to hear me say a lot. And the term is Yi Dao Qi Dao. And that translates as where your mind goes, your Qi goes. And your Qi is your inner ocean. It is your, imagine it as all your bodily fluids, and your Qi is carried with that. It's the life force that's carried within your inner ocean. And if you imagine you're doing a lovely practice, doing whatever you're doing, but your mind is elsewhere, that means you're putting your energy to where your mind's going rather than where you want to direct it to heal yourself, to make yourself better. So Yi Dao Qi Dao is that guiding principle that we sync our mind into our body so that our attention is on what we are doing. So that's the mindfulness side of things. Don't worry, if you're thinking, hang on a minute, how are we going to do all this? This is what this 30 days is about. But what I want to do is set you up with what we're going to do and what to expect, and some of the key words that you're going to hear me say right from the outset. So it's a bit like when you go to, you're going for a lovely walk and you're going up a hill and you don't know what the view is going to be like on top, and you get there eventually. If you get there and you sit down and you get onto your mobile phone, I'm not suggesting you're going to do this, but this is just an example, it's sort of your energy has gone into all the work to get there, but you've not going to enjoy the view at the top. You've just put your attention onto the ping of the phone. But actually what we want to do is get to the top of the hill feeling nourished and not tired. So how do we get to the top of the hill without feeling tired? But also when we are at that top of the hill is to be able to take off the blinkers and just absorb the beauty of nature and that view. And to be able to take it all in. That's the essence of our practice and how I'm going to teach you to get to that top of the hill and enjoy every single step of the way, not just the view at the top. So what I'd like you to do now, just to try and experience what I mean by Yi Dao Qi Dao, is to get yourselves comfortable. So as you can see, for those of you who have not used my website before, this isn't Zoom, obviously. And that works well because Zoom, where you can see each other, sort of we might be inhibited to what we want to do. And not only that, but sometimes in Zoom, when we've got a camera on us, we forget we've got a camera on us and we start to do other things, which then disrupts other people. They can see what you're doing. Or we forget to turn the microphone off, so there's noise, or there's the postman, or there's the dog barking, or whatever it may be. So this setup, the website that I use, that I have set up since COVID, allows you just to focus on this one screen, and no one can see you. So get yourselves comfortable for the moment, and you can stand or you can sit down wherever you are. And I'd like you just to close your eyes for the moment. You can just listen to what I'm going to say. You don't need to see anything. Just close your eyes for a moment. Take a couple of deep breaths. Don't try and change your breathing. Just breathe naturally. And I'd like you to put your attention into one of your hands, not both. Choose one. And without force, without trying too hard, just bring your awareness and your attention to that one hand. Have it resting on your lap so it's not held up. You can have it in a loose fist or open, it's entirely up to you. Just pay attention to that one hand. And without forcing it, just keep your attention there. And your attention might well drift off. And if it does, bring it back to your hand. Notice when it drifts off. Bring it back to your hand. Breathe. I'd just like you to notice, are you feeling any sensations? Warmth, tingles? Is your hand more apparent? Does the hand feel heavier, fuller? Good, that's it. Open up your eyes, join me again, please. So perhaps some of you felt a different sensation in your hand. The ones that I just mentioned are the quite common sensations, but our experience through Qigong is very personal. So anything I do say is general, is a general sensation, a common sensation. It doesn't mean you have to feel it. It just means that you might have your own different sensations. They're not wrong. Okay? This is your own personal connection with your innate and intimate self. So what we just did there in that very short, small exercise is we're going to be doing on a larger scale through our Qigong practice, bringing our awareness to different parts of the body and sensing, feeling what's going on. So for today, I invite you to do that exercise with just different parts of your body throughout the course of the day. Literally a minute or two. When you're waiting for the kettle to boil, just choose a part of your body and just bring your awareness there. See, don't try too hard, just see whether you can highlight any senses. It could be your foot, it could be your left hand, it could be your ear, it could be a shoulder, wherever. But just have a play with that during the course of today. So the next thing we're going to be focusing on these next 30 days is going to be the breath. And Qigong is all about your breathing. It's not just the movement. Breathing is the conduit, I call it, that links our energy and our awareness. And it's the glue that binds everything. So we're going to be doing some conscious breathing, and I'm going to be teaching you some Qigong breathing, if you like it, but we're going to get onto that tomorrow. Qigong works through using your breathing, your movement, and your awareness and your intention to guide your inner ocean that I mentioned earlier on, which contains your qi throughout your body. And according to traditional Chinese medicine, what we're looking for is a smooth, regulated, harmonious flow of our inner ocean through our body, of our qi through our body. But it's when we encounter illness, stress in our lives and bad habits that we create blockages. And these blockages doesn't allow the inner ocean qi to flow through it. So our practice is going to be to open up and to clear these blockages over time, to allow your inner ocean, your qi, to flow freely through your body. So that is Qigong at its most basic. Towards the end of the 30 days, I'm going to be adding in the Western aspect of how we connect with our bodies. I will plant the seeds throughout the 30 days, but we're going to be focusing on that in the last week. But it's what we call the fascia, which is the communication system of the body. So those of you who have my book would have read about that already. So that's essentially the Qigong, how it works and what we're going to be doing with it. You can do this seated or standing, depending on what you're able to do. If you can stand, I highly recommend you stand, and even albeit for a few moments and you need to sit back down, then just try to stand, just to try and build some strength and stamina in your legs. If you cannot stand, you're just unable to stand, then you're absolutely fine to do what we're doing seated. You will see me teach this predominantly standing, I just find it easier for my back. And as you can see, actually this is my high chair, as it were, where I do all my sort of computer work on, because I've got a risen desk. So I either stand or perch rather than sitting down. So from the outset, the 70% rule. The 70% rule is for all of us, no matter where we're coming from. And 70% rule means that we only practice to 70% of what we're able to do. So never push beyond 70% of your ability. Pushing to 70% starts to get the body stressed again. And what we want to do is to be able to practice our breathing, our Qigong. We want to practice living comfortably. Qigong becomes a way of life. Qigong starts to practice you eventually, rather than you practicing Qigong. And we can get to that way if we learn how to listen to what our body is saying. And what we don't want to do is only listen when our body is screaming at us. We want to be able to tune into the whispers of the body. When it starts to say, I'm a little bit uncomfortable here, rather than going, raw, I'm really now hurting, do something about it. We want to hear the whispers. And when we hear the whispers, it's a lot easier to change than when our body is shouting. And our body, and that could be our mind as well. We want to be able to hear the subtleties of what I call our inner doctor. Our most in tune doctor that we know is ourselves. We know what hurts, when it hurts, where it hurts, how it hurts. So let's tune into the voice of our inner doctor. So we only ever move to 70% of what we're able to do. If you're coming at this practice with health conditions, then your 70% might be 50%, might be 40%, might be 20%. It doesn't mean don't do it, it just means do it, tailor-make it to what you're able to do. That's crucial. So earlier on I mentioned habit energy, and part of the attraction of coming on to the course was, how do we change habits? Well, what we're going to do is understand what a habit is first. And I like to describe, and one of my teachers, Thich Nhat Hanh, describes a habit as an energy. And I think it's a beautiful way to understand that a habit is something that quite often we've inherited from our parents. And it's not to proportion blame on our parents, it's just something that's come down through our ancestors, because our parents probably got that habit or some habits from their parents, from their parents, from their parents. And you can see where if it's not broken, that chain's not broken, how it can feed down to us and quite possibly our own children. So if we understand that habit is an energy, and an energy that we can change to suit us, to help us, then we can change bad habits. And Qigong and mindfulness are the perfect practices to be able to change those habits. And again, these next 30 days is for you to commit to an everyday practice from now, from Monday the 25th of January, or from whenever you are watching this, is to commit now an unbroken chain of 30 days of practice. That's what you're committing to. I will be here Monday to Friday, and on Saturday and Sunday, you will practice what we've done in the week. And then on Monday again, the following week, we'll continue with some new teachings. So, habits are energies, and it's up to us whether we let those energies, those habits, define who we are. And we all know what habits that we have got that we want to change. And some of us might have plenty of habits. Don't try and pick one out at a time and think, I'll be overwhelmed with however many you've got to change. When you come to your practice of mindfulness and Qigong, you'll be changing a lot more than you actually realize. Okay, you're going to be changing on a cellular level. So, before we get on to the first stage of our physical practice today, I just want to mention to you the Slack community. So, Slack is it's a free downloadable thing on your computer or on your phone, and it's there as a private group. Excuse my Kara now, she's heard her friend calling from the other side of the so Slack is going to be a place for you to be able to privately, then that means that no one else can see what you're writing, your own journal. And I highly recommend and invite you to do that every day you put in a one line, how was my practice today? It felt like this, it was easy, it was hard. It doesn't need to make sense to anyone else, it doesn't even need to make sense to you. Just go in there and write and check into yourself that you're keeping up this 30-day journal. And so when I send you an email to invite you into the private group later on today, I've put a post up at the top, just explaining how we as a community are going to be using Slack. So please read that post at the top before you start posting your comments. But it's also there to support each other. So, someone might say, oh, I really enjoyed it today, or I'm finding this a little bit hard. How's someone else doing it? And have a chat. Have a big group chat and help support each other in this journey. And I think that would be a lovely, lovely way to share, because you're not in this alone. That's the other beauty of this course. You're not by yourself. Okay, you're going to have a whole community of people around you that are going to be able to share their feelings and thoughts. So Slack isn't there as an advisor to tell you what to do, but please feel free to share what it is that you do that might help others. I will also try and share some points of inspiration, and these things that I have written up to share with you as well, I'll be sharing on Slack too. So I'll be sending you all an email a bit later on, inviting you to the private Slack group, and it's only you can get in there. So, the first introduction. I would like you, if you can, to stand now, please. Good. If you can't stand and you'd rather sit, then please bring your bottoms to the front of your seats, feet flat on the ground, not legs crossed. And what we're doing is we don't want to rely on the back of the seat if you're sitting down. So before we can start the movement, and what I intend to do with you is share the choreography, share the movements with you, teach you how to do the movements first, and then as the 30 days goes on, I'm going to start to plant seeds and embed how you can deepen your experience with these movements, the internal Qigong side of things. But first, before we can do any of that, we need to learn how to establish a posture that allows us to move from this posture. And this posture we call Wu Ji, and that is spelt W-U-J-I. It's quite confused with the word Qi, Wu Qi, people call it. It isn't that, it's Wu Ji, W-U-J-I. And Wu Ji, if translated, means boundless, endless, limitless, as in nature, as in the universe. That when you look up at the night sky, and it's a clear night sky, and you just think for a moment that it's never ending. And then when you think and you just plant your mind into the earth and you just sink yourself into the earth, the vastness of the earth. Us as human beings are a mirror image of what we're surrounded by, the universe. So what we're doing in Wu Qi is not just a physical standing posture, it's a state of being. And we have to start off with how to be up here and in here. So first things first, our feet. Imagine you draw a line down the center of your feet, the soles of your feet. And I'd like you to make those lines parallel as you stand. So your feet are just underneath your hips. So not too close, not too wide, underneath your hips, and you're making those two imaginary lines parallel. Good. Now, once we've got the feet there, always feel free to adjust your position whenever you need to. So now we've got the feet. We'll just gently work your way up the body. Just bring your attention up through your body to your head. And now with your head, I'd like you to imagine that you have a hook connected to the crown of your head that connects to a sky hook. And this hook just allows you to suspend from the skies. We call this the heavens, not in a religious sense, but everything up there. So they're the heavens, and we have the earth. So now as you stand, drop your chin in very slightly until you feel your neck slightly lengthen at the back. Connect the sky hook. Now bring your awareness all the way back down through your body and just wriggle your toes. Feel the texture of the floor that you're standing on. It might be the carpet like I'm standing on. It might be, you might have socks on. You may have slippers on, shoes on. You may be standing on a tiled floor. But just feel it, feel the texture, feel the temperature. Okay, good. So now the tricky bit. We have the connection with heaven, the connection with the earth, and now it's us, the individual, ourselves in the middle that connects the heaven and the earth. And we need to stand in a way that allows the body to communicate with the heaven and earth without blocking, creating any blockages. So if you imagine that your joints, your main joints, so your ankles, your knees, deep in the pelvis, the joints of your spine, the vertebrae of your spine, and the other joints, but they're the main places that if we lock out, we're creating immediate blockages. So what we want to do is learn how to stand releasing the joints to allow the flow of our inner ocean to freely move without us unconsciously creating a blockage there. So first, keeping your sky hook attached, soften your knees. Now, to know whether you've softened your knees enough, lock them first. Lock your knees and feel the pressure that this creates in the rest of your body, and especially around your knees. Okay, feel how tense things become, and especially feel the back of the knee where it's been pushed out backwards. Our knees were never made to be weight-bearing joints. They're there to bend and for us to climb and to walk, but never to hold the weight of the body. Unfortunately, we're never taught this until now, and we put so much pressure in the knees, we end up having not only problems with the knees, but the rest of the body, because the springiness of the knees we've lost. So therefore, the springiness in the rest of the body is lost. So this is why I start with practicing this right from day one, because it's probably the hardest thing I'm going to teach you. So now you've got that hard, tense feeling in the back of your knees. I'd like you to soften it, bend your knees enough so it just disappears. And sometimes you're only talking a centimetre or two. So now you should have no tension in the back of your knees. And make sure you don't have any tension in your knees, holding yourself. You want to use the thighs. So with your hands, tap your thighs. Right to the top of your knee, all the way up. All around your thighs. Okay, that's enough. What we're doing is just bringing awareness to where we want to focus on, which is the tingling thighs now. So soften your knees. Use your tingling thighs as support to support your body. Good. Use the karate chop, this side of your hands, and place that either side of your pubic bone, the diagonal inguinal creases here. And what you should feel is that they're open, and they're open because they're folded, they've gone inwards. If not, just like the back of your knees, when you've pushed outwards, you're going to feel it hard here. What you want to do is soften your knees, and as if you're perching, just like I was perching on my stool with my sit bones, the bones at the base of my pelvis, I just want to perch as if I'm on an invisible stool, and that just allows an openness here and here, deep in the pelvis. Okay, good. Relax your hand. So now the knees are soft, which has helped the ankles to become soft. We're gently perching on an invisible stool, which allows what we call the kwa, the internal space deep in the pelvis, either side, to become soft. Relax your buttocks. Relax your lower back. Don't forget you're still being suspended by your sky hook. And what you should feel is just your thighs doing the work, and it's only a small amount of work. Now remember, you're 70%. If you're tired and you're thinking, cool, this is quite taxing already, and it might well be, shake out. Good, come back to it, align your parallel lines on the soles of your feet. Connect to your sky hook, drop your chin in, soften your knees subtly, fractionally. Engage your thighs as you sit into the kwa, perching on your invisible stool. Relax your buttocks, your lower back. Now your spine needs to be long without being stretched, just a nice pleasant internal lengthening. So the physical aspect of what you're feeling now is feet connected to the earth. Your knees are off lock, and your thighs might be thinking, hang on a minute, I can really feel your thighs working. That's what they're there for, and that's what we're going to be doing. Using your thighs, training your thighs, building the strength and stamina so that the thighs can move your body as they are designed to do so. Good. Now your arms. We want to try and allow a little bit of space in the armpits, because without that, if we close the arms, this space is us blocking it consciously or unconsciously, blocking it so that our inner ocean's not going to be able to travel from the torso down through the arms to our hands, which is really important for where the meridians are as well. So turn your palms away, so your palms facing behind you. And just let your turn your elbows out as well. And this is just going to really subtly open up the armpits. So now let's check in. Feet parallel, knees off lock. It's habit will happen and we lock the knees. Remind ourselves, no, take the knees off lock, and remember it's only just a small amount. Engage your thighs, open up the quad by just gently sinking down to perch your sit bones onto an imaginary stool. Lengthen through your spine, drop your chin in. Connect the crown of your head to a sky hook. Your arms hanging either side of your body and your palms turned, elbows turned, just to open up your armpits. And just let it hang. Don't hold the arms from your shoulders. Relax, soften. Right at the beginning of this session, I mentioned the three treasures. Welcome to the three treasures. The three treasures are heaven, you, and earth. We'll further explore the three treasures in the next few days. So the three treasures are heaven, you, and earth. So in these early days, it's learning how to stand without your knees locking out, how to open up the quad just by gently perching, engaging your thighs, and as you're standing here, just breathe normally. Don't try and change anything or do anything. It's just about learning how to stand, but also how to be with your stand. And as you ease into your stand and you start to train your thighs to do the work, if you're feeling tension here above your knees, you've bent your knees too much, okay? So just bring them back a little bit so that you're not using the tension here. So for those of you who have done a little bit of Wu Ji before, and all of you, I invite you to slowly start to take your blinkers off. So we've got to the top of the hill and we want to take in the view. So it's a panoramic view that we've got. So imagine that you're doing that with your mind, having a panoramic mind, taking the limitations of your mind off and just being able to connect with the earth, your body, and the connection just upwards, just above your head here. All at the same time. Breathe freely. You'll find your awareness travels down, then it will go up, and then it will stay somewhere, then it will go off. That's all part and parcel of learning how to be mindful and paying attention. Good. So, today, and for the following 30 days, whenever you have the opportunity to stand, consciously start standing in Wu Qi. Stand. We're building a conscious practice of breathing, of movement, but how we hold ourselves in this world. And the Wu Qi is starting place of all of our practices, is where we come from. This is the foundation of it all. And because we're not used to using our thighs, because we are so used to locking out our knees all the time, to gain strength and stamina and for our inner ocean, the balance of our inner ocean to flow harmoniously through our body, we need to learn how to stand in Wu Qi. Now, this isn't a case of I can't do it. Everybody can do it. If you're sitting down, you already have these points off lock. It's just about maintaining your awareness and a nice straight spine and the connection with the heaven and the earth. If you're standing, it's a little trickier because you are having to engage your thighs. It is quite amazing when you start to engage your thighs, and it doesn't take too long if you practice this little and often, just a minute or two several times a day. Before you know it, this becomes your default way of standing. So when you're standing at a bus stop or at the post office queue, wherever you are, you end up standing in Wu Qi all the time. And you can just feel connected, grounded, and it allows just your inner ocean to start to gently flow by itself without us having to try too much. So this is the starting place. This is your first lesson. Standing throughout today, as many times as you can, consciously practice your Wu Qi standing. Okay? When you're sitting down, start to practice the awareness practice, the Yi Dao, Qi Dao, the sinking your mind into your body. So whether you're just focusing on one hand for a moment, your foot, whatever it may be, just for 60 seconds or so, just to slowly start to train your awareness. And to help you, Post-it notes. When I first started this, I remember my entire house being covered in Post-it notes, and I would put awareness, hand, breathe, Wu Qi, whatever it is that I wanted to remind myself with, and I'd stick a Post-it note here, there and everywhere. In the inside of a cupboard, in the fridge, in the shower, in the car, wherever. All of these different places. So then all of a sudden I'd open up a cupboard and I'll just have this Post-it note saying Wu Qi, and I think, oh yeah, I'm cooking. There's no reason why I can't stand in Wu Qi whilst I'm cooking, chopping away. If I wanted to remind myself how to breathe or whatever, I put these Post-it notes, and soon it became such a thing that I didn't need the Post-it notes. But it's a really good way to remind yourself. So perhaps if you've got some Post-it notes, or if you don't, you may want to get some so you can start putting reminders everywhere for yourself. And especially over these next 30 days, that's a really good way to start moving forward. So that brings us to the end of the first session. Wu Qi practice, an introduction to Qigong and myself and how we're going to move forward. And now I'll do my best to answer any direct questions that you might have from this session. Don't forget the Slack is going to be there to start answering a few more questions, probably in a little bit more depth. As the day goes on, you might think of things that you might want to ask me as well. So please ask them through the Slack community when I send you the invitation email. So I'm going to get to my, my screen now, and I'll try and answer what I can. If I'm bombarded with questions, please forgive me if I don't get to yours. Okay, so do you have any questions, anyone? Let me know. Type them into the little live chat box that you've got next to the player screen. It might be to the right of it, it might be underneath it, depending on what you're using. Can I include a code of conduct in the Slack channel? Absolutely. I have done that already. That's in the first post that I've pinned on there. So essentially the code of conduct will include the basics. So language, no vulgar obscenities, languages. If that does happen, then I will just have to sort of take away access to whoever uses that. And images, no inappropriate images whatsoever. And external links, because what we're trying to do is create a Qigong community and mindfulness, and we don't want to try and potentially promote other things that haven't been checked out. Please don't use external links. The way that we communicate is, and I've written all this up, but just to give you an idea, is just to think, take 3 breaths before you decide to write something. Try and be as concise as you can, because the longer a post, the likelihood is people will have limited time and they probably won't read it. So, you know, it's not rude just to say, hi, I'm getting straight to the point, da-di-da-di-da, that's fine. But there is a code of conduct on there already. Thank you, thank you. There's lots of thank yous coming in. I'm fairly new to mindfulness. This is Alison, fairly new to mindfulness, but you practice meditation. How different would they be? They're one in the same. The meditation that I practice is mindful meditation. And essentially we are trying to achieve the same thing when it comes to the broad aspect of what meditation is. It's not meditation, and this type of work is a practice. We've got to train to get better at it. It's nothing that comes necessarily naturally or it's easy, because as human beings, we've got a lot going on in our heads. So to quieten the voice of the heads, we meditate and we practice Qigong, which is essentially movement meditation. So just to let you know, I offer a Sangha, a meditation class, which is absolutely free on Monday evenings. It's separate to the 30-day challenge, but it is it's a Sangha. It's a community of people practicing meditation, and I do that through Zoom, and that's on Monday evenings at 8 o'clock. It's a private group again, so if you're interested in doing that aside of this or in addition to this, please email me separately. Don't do that through the Slack. But email me separately, and I will invite you to the Sangha this evening at 8 o'clock. Looking forward to the next 30 days. So am I, sharing this journey with you. That's fantastic. So this is a really good one. So thank you, Christine. When you concentrated on your hand, you not only felt heat, but there was also pain and other joints as well. Very common. I've suffered from fibromyalgia for 30 odd years as a result of the shock I went through in previous lives and after my major surgery. And when I first started doing that exercise, it was almost like that the pain was heightened. Breathe. The pain is no different. You're not making yourself painful. What we're doing is actually we're starting to own, and we're not hiding away from what our body's saying. So where I mentioned to you earlier on that we're tuning in to listening to our body, when we listen to our body, we can give it what it's asking rather than ignoring it. And when we do experience any pain, and even if it was just sitting there and all of a sudden we calm the body and the inner ocean starts to flow, which is essentially what's going on, that relaxing of the body, that movement of your blood and all your bodily fluids and your chi to that area where it might not be used to getting to, is all of a sudden going to go, wow, what are you doing to me? So breathe. Always come back to when you feel that. Don't try too hard, don't focus too hard, and breathe out the discomfort. Each time you exhale, release it and just let that discomfort, that pain go. I hope that helps, Christine. Brilliant. Okay, so it looks like we've come to an end and people are starting to log off, which I completely understand. thank you very much for your kind words. A lot of talking from me today, but I needed to introduce what we're going to be doing together. I look forward to getting on Slack with you, and I look forward to sharing some more with you tomorrow. Please don't forget to get in touch if you're interested in joining the Sangha on Monday evenings. Take good care of yourselves and see you tomorrow at 10. Bye-bye.